This was insane to witness. Meet the Dallas Cowboys' new dynamic duo. Maybe the most exciting defensive duo in the National Football League. We'll break it down and much more on this episode of Cowboys Digest. Welcome in, everybody, to Cowboys Digest. I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, and today I'm going to be talking about the two defensive standouts for the Dallas Cowboys. But before we get into all of that and break down their performances, I want to let you know that a large percentage of you watching these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So go ahead and hit that sub button. It'd mean the world to me because we're close to my goal of 3,000 subscribers. So guys, help me out and get me there. But let's get straight into the video. First off, I want to talk about Micah Parsons, who in his in the game against the New York Giants, in his 4 games since returning, via PFF, he's got 23 pressures, 11 hurries, 8 sacks, 7 stops, and 4 QB hits. Continuing, Micah Parsons has his team believing in making a playoff push when we know that there's probably no hope of them getting there. Believing and encouraging Mazi Smith publicly, who has been getting a lot of backlash for the way that he's performed this season and for being a bust of a draft pick, to put it simply. Being a mentor and big bro to Overshown and coming off a high ankle sprain, causing havoc. And y'all said he's not a leader just because of the stuff that he's been doing off the field, the podcast and whatnot. But I think Micah Parsons is really morphing himself into the leader of this defense, and he looks great out there. And RJ Ochoa, big fan of his work. He is saying it is so badass how Micah Parsons said the Cowboys were not going to tank. Whether or not you want them to is a different point, and that he has been playing out of his mind ever since. Now, whether you're on Team Tank, whether you are on team win as many games as you can, I think it is great to see him and DeMarvion Overshown really morph into one of the scariest duos in the National Football League. Their speed from sideline to sideline, their ability to rush the quarterback, their ability to just make plays on the defensive side of the football, it can't be understated. And this defense got a lot of crap at the start of the season for the way that they were playing, and deservedly so. They were arguably the worst unit in the National Football League. They turned the corner in the past couple of weeks, and really since Micah Parsons has made his way back from injury, and it's been great to see. They could have easily just rolled over and tanked for a better draft pick, not wanting to risk injuries because the season is quote-unquote over, and it might still be. But the fact that you have your best players putting their bodies on the line, and I'm not just talking about Micah Parsons, I'm talking about CeeDee Lamb as well, who hurt his shoulder yet again against the Giants. You have these guys putting their bodies on the line, sacrificing themselves for a team that is now 5-7. Now, the culture has been a long-standing issue with the Dallas Cowboys. A lot of fans have been referring to that as the downfall of the team. But when your best players play like your best players and rally the other troops behind them, that to me is a sign that Micah Parsons wants to be a Cowboy for life. CeeDee Lamb knows what he got himself into with that contract extension. He's going to ball out and put his body on the line when he's in between those white lines. So I love it. And I've definitely paid, and Ryan Clark saying here, I've definitely paid attention to Micah Parsons' effort since he said he felt the Cowboys were a good team, and it has been outstanding. His play and output have not been that of a loser in any manner. And Ryan Clark, bang on with his assessment right there. As I mentioned earlier, the Cowboys could have easily rolled over, could have easily had a mandate from upper management that, okay, we're going to lose the rest of the season, we're going to try to get a better draft pick and help you boys out going into next season. They're not doing that, and I think Jerry Jones is happy with what he's been seeing. He obviously wants to put more butts in the seats, and he's been doing that with the last couple of wins that the Cowboys have gotten. So the viewership for the Thursday night, for the Thursday afternoon game between the Giants and Cowboys peaked at around 43.5 million. That was, I think, the most viewed NFL game of the season, one of the most in the past decade. So just shows you that the Cowboys brand is still strong, and they're still going to get people to tune in. But when you have performances like this from Micah Parsons. And when you have performances like this from DeMarvion Overshown, I mean, that's just a reason in itself to tune in. And look at these stats against the Giants. 77.2 PFF rating, 8 total tackles, 1 pass deflection, 1 goal line stop, 0 TDs allowed, 0 missed tackles. DeMarvion Overshown, this guy is one of my favorite players on the Dallas Cowboys, and I'll tell you why. His speed from sideline to sideline is second to none. I've never seen anything like it in a Cowboys uniform, and it's truly impressive to watch. That play that he batted down for the interception and the pick six, that was just improvisation. That was a display of athleticism that I don't think I've ever seen before from a Dallas Cowboys defensive player. He is so damn good, and this is what Micah Parsons had to say about him. I told y'all from the beginning he was going to be a dude that will be an all-pro, Pro Bowl type player. He's his own special specimen. He's a wildcat on the field. Man, I love playing next to him. And the thing with Micah Parsons, the criticism that he's received in years past is that he kind of disappears against good teams when he gets double-teamed and when he gets all of the attention focused on him. Well, that's the sign of a great player, because that's, in theory, supposed to open everything up for everybody else on the field. So when Micah Parsons disappears, even though he never really disappears, you could always feel his presence, that's supposed to allow the other guys to get in there. Well, maybe he just hasn't had another guy on that defense to go out there and make those kinds of plays. Maybe he hasn't had the kind of support that he's needed in order to be a decoy. Now I think he does. Now with DeMarvion Overshown in the fold and healthy and playing the way that he's playing, I think that is a guy that can make things a lot easier for Micah Parsons, and we're seeing it with the numbers right now. Look at these 4 games since returning. 8 sacks, 23 pressures. That's because he's seeing a lot of single coverage. He's seeing a lot of soft coverage from the outside tackles, and that's allowing Overshown to get to the quarterback and bat passes. That's allowing him to make tackles in open space, and that's allowing Micah Parsons to do pretty much whatever the hell he wants out there. So these next couple of games are going to be critical for the Dallas Cowboys. Hopefully they can get Trevon Diggs back, who did not play against the Giants, and Lord knows they're going to need him against the Cincinnati Bengals, who have been slinging that football all across the field. They have one of the best offenses in the National Football League. The only thing is that their defense is absolute garbage, which is why they have a 4-7 record. But, I mean, pretty similar teams record-wise. I think the Bengals are going to be favored in that matchup. But you got Joe Burrow with a couple of amazing weapons on the outside in T. Higgins and, of course, Jamar Chase, who has been the best receiver in the NFL this year. So that's going to be a tall task. Hopefully they can get Trevon Diggs back, and Josh Butler out for the season with an ACL injury, the great story out of Michigan State, who was really coming into his own these last couple of games, and now he's going to be sidelined for the rest of the year. So that's a tough pill to swallow for him and for the Dallas Cowboys. Hopefully he can be back and better than ever next season. But it's going to be a tough game next week against the Bengals. And if you can get another performance like this out of Micah Parsons, I mean, it's going to make the job a lot easier, that's for sure. But let me know in the comments down below, what do you think of this duo? Are they one of the scariest in the National Football League? And the game after the Bengals is the Carolina Panthers. So a realistic chance for the Dallas Cowboys to move to 7-7 after a nightmare start to the season with Cooper Rush behind center. I mean, it's not as far-fetched as I'm making it out to be here. 7-7, I think you put yourself in an okay spot for the rest of the season to maybe get back in the fold and maybe finish with a more respectable record to end the season. It hasn't been great. It's been far from great at many different points this season, but you're playing the Bengals at home. You got the Carolina Panthers, who are a pretty bad football team, and then you got the Buccaneers, the Eagles, and the Commanders to finish out your season. So it's a legitimate opportunity that you have here. I wouldn't say to run the table, but to maybe pick up 4 wins there. 4 out of 5 wins. I think that's realistic. You finish the season at 9-8, and you give yourself a chance. I'm not going to go out there and declare the Cowboys to be a playoff team. They haven't looked like a playoff team at any point this season, and I'm not going to flex a win over the Giants. But when you beat your divisional opponents, like you beat the Commanders, like you beat the Giants, you give yourself a better chance at season's end. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think of this dynamic duo of the Dallas Cowboys? And of course, I'm talking about Micah Parsons and DeMarvion Overshown, and I will see you all tomorrow. Go Cowboys.